Hey guys, this video will be about Alexandra. I'm just gonna share some of the things, some of the memories that I've had with her. They're gonna be somewhat blurry just because there's so many of them. I'm here at the funeral facility where she was buried, here at the Wrestling Funeral Home in Richardson, Texas. Bear with me as some of the memories may not be as detailed, but this is just honoring Alexandra because this would be the month, would be the week that she sadly passed away last year. In this video, I'm just going to reflect on some of the memories that I have of Alexandra and just continue her legacy and her memory going. I'm here at one of the parks, local parks here in Texarkana, Texas. A lady that was very special to me, somebody that was in a way changed my life. There was a lot of ladies, but this one in particular I want to talk about today. Who is Alexandra Goode? She's lived to be well over 90 years old. There's a lot of years to remember, so I'm not gonna be able to tell you all 90 years, but I can at least share with you some of the years that I had a pleasure of getting to know her before she passed away. She started her life, unfortunately, during World War II. As a teenager, she got sent to the concentration camp, and she wasn't even Jewish. Shortly after she spent brief time in concentration camp, she was able to escape and come on a boat here. She got to see the Ellis Island, the Statue of Liberty. Shortly after she moved to America, she found her sweetheart. His name was George Goode. Before she got married and moved to America, her name was Alexandra Maharaj. I had the pleasure of meeting Alexandra when she was in her 70s. When most people at that age choose to retire, her and her husband, they decided to travel to Russia back and forth to help adopt well over 200 kids from different orphanages in Russia. I remember all the times that Alexandra came over to my orphanage, and every time that we would find out that she's coming over, the one thing as little kids I remember we would all get excited is because she always had candy in her pockets. And I don't know if she had to custom make her pockets or whatnot, but I do remember she had lots of candy. So the moment we would come by to hug her, we'd all selfishly, I feel bad saying this now, but we all would come by and hug her, and afterwards she would give us candy. Alexandra was a very sweet lady. I've gotten to know her for at least 20 years. Alexandra loved traveling to Russia back and forth, helping different kids and families to be adopted and move to America and have a better life. Years later, after a lot of the kids got adopted, she stayed in contact with them. She would check up on them. She constantly made sure that they were okay. I know all the times that I've had the pleasure of going to her house, she would always make me different meals. I remember for George, for her husband, one of the things she always made sure, because they were both pretty healthy, was for George, she made sure he had one banana a day at least for potassium. And every time I would come to her house in Keller, Texas, she always would have a meal ready for me, or we would sit down, have a cup of hot tea with some Russian candy, and then while her meal was cooking in the oven, we'd enjoy each other's company. Alexandra was somebody that loved talking to people, meeting new people. She was very adventurous. When she was getting ready to retire, that's the one thing she was sad about, is that, you know, with age, she wasn't going to be able to travel as much. And so she finally settled down, her and her husband, George, in the last 10 to 15 years of their retirement. The one thing that we would always talk about when I would come by to Alexandra's house in Keller before she moved to Texarkana, anytime I would stop by her house, I would make sure to bring some Russian candy, and she would have hot tea, even though she would already have plenty of Russian candy and hot tea, because every time I called her, she would already go to the grocery store and get some hot tea, or try to run over all the way to Richardson to get some Russian candy from Deli. Behind me is one of the favorite Russian stores / Ukrainian stores that Alexandra used to love going to. The last couple of years before she passed away, every time I would go to Texarkana, this would be the store that I would stop by here in Richardson, Texas. which is not that far from their house that they used to live in here in Richardson. And usually, I remember the two things that she always liked here is she liked black currant tea here. And the other thing she liked is obviously different varieties of candies, snacks here. I've been coming here for about 20 plus years now, and it's thanks to Alexandra because she introduced me to this place. They also have a Deli over in Plano, and then there's a couple of other Russian stores in the neighborhood. Deli and Deli 2 are both out off of Coit Road. Anytime we would have hot tea with Russian candy and talk about different things, the one thing that she always loved to talk about, and she would always get her photo album out, the adoption book out. She loved talking about the different kids that she helped adopt, and she was very selfless in it, that she wasn't meaning to talk about it to be selfish, like, whoa, like, look at me, how great I am. But she just loved the thought how you could change over 200 lives and just see how they're all different, that they're all over the United States now, living their lives. She really was passionate about the orphans and the Russian kids who are now young adults. I have a lot of favorite memories with Alexandra, but probably by far one of my most favorite ones, just because it's got so much meaning behind it, is when her and I took a trip to New York. In March of 2018. My dad was at the time doing a Broadway workshop with some of the high school kids that he brought from Grapevine Faith. Alexandra and I, we left a couple of days later after they've already been there. While they were doing their workshops in the daytime, we were exploring, we were doing different things. Some of the things her and I were able to do, we went to the Russian tea room. In the afternoon, we went to see musical Anastasia, which was very fitting. And for Alexandra, she loved that musical Anastasia, and she got to meet the star Anastasia herself. Towards the end, after we were waiting outside, after the musical was over, the star came out to meet with her, talk with her, and she gave her a little tiara, and she said, "Hey, could I put the tiara on you?" And then she proceeded to put it on her, and you could just see Alexandra's smile. It was so contagious. And everybody around that was strangers, didn't know Alexandra, they turned around and they were like taking pictures. They were trying to figure out who she was. Why is this star of the show talking to Alexandra?
Here she is. Chrissy, this is Alexandra.
I heard your entire story. Thank you so much for coming to see our show. It means so much to me. Thank you so much for being here. It was so emotional to know that you're going to be here tonight. And I want to give you a little something that's kind of silly. It's a tiara. Can I put it on you? Okay. You're a princess just like me.
Got it, thank you.
God bless you forever. Thank you so much. Oh, yes.
You're good.
Yes, that would be beautiful. Oh, perfect. Thank you.
God bless you, thank you.
Bye.
Another memory that was also happened in New York of March of 2018 was when we all took a boat on Ellis Island. Oh yeah, look, there it is. You see it?
No.
Right there?
Way out there.
May I have to concentrate my
Statue of
eyes?
Liberty.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness,
she's
it
out.
is.
Do you remember seeing it coming to the island?
Oh, that's been
Babu will be going us really close to it.
forget it. Never forget.
Creo que es porque vienes entrando
Something is etched in your memory.
para que sigas.
Very, very important. Oh, thank you, Scott, for bringing it.
Alexandra was telling us about her life story, how she waited in line for 20 plus hours at the Ellis Island to get her paperwork to make sure she was healthy enough to cross the United States border. On the way to Ellis Island, as we were riding on the boat, Alexandra sees something that she hasn't seen in a long time, and she started crying.
Babu, do you remember what time you came in? What time of night? What time of the day or night?
Oh, was it early? Oh, good.
You see her?
Oh, my God. Wow.
That way.
That way?
Yeah, right here. See this building right here?
Yeah.
That's Ellis Island.
Oh, that's what we went to it. Colors are the same. I was going here often.
Yeah, that's where we're gonna go. And we're going up to Statue of Liberty right now.
Oh, over there on the left. Yeah. This is so
And she just started crying and just brought a whole bunch of memories back for her as a young teenager coming across the border with a whole bunch of other people to try to make a better life for herself here in America. I will be forever grateful to her, and that's why in the beginning of the video you heard me say she changed my life for the better by living here in America, and because of her I'm able to travel now because she put a travel bug in me. I'm just grateful that I was able to be a part of her life and able to travel to New York with her, because that was like one of the best things that she could experience. And this was when she was 88, 89 years old. When she was in her 80s, her family decided with her that it was time to move closer to Texarkana, and this is where I'm at now. I'm here in Texarkana, and I've gotten to spend some time here with her over the years. Texarkana is about 3 hours from Fort Worth, Texas, or Grapevine, Texas area. Even though Alexandra was sad that she had to move from everything that she's known to a small town here in Texarkana, Texas, off of I-30, she got settled in here at the retirement community. She was able to make some new friends, go out with some of them, and do things. After Alexandra moved here to Texarkana, I started coming over, and I probably made at least 10 to 20 different trips with other people as well that came down and visited her all the way from Grapevine, Fort Worth area, just to make her feel comfortable and letting her know that she still has people that love her and care for her, that are willing to drive 3+ hours just to come see her and spend some time with her. There was one of the conversations that we had, Alexandra and I, when I came over to spend some time with her here in Texarkana, probably a couple of years ago now. Her one final wish and dream was to travel back to Russia and just go see some of the old places that she visited. And this was when she was in her 80s, going into early 90s. And deep in my heart, I still, to this day, believe that she could have made it and was able to go even in her age, because she was a very strong woman. She had a very sound mind. 6 months before she passed away, she was still on her phone, calling people, texting people. She was on social media a lot. So this is a woman that was well in her 90s, that was able to do these things because she did have a sound mind. That's why I truly believe she was able to go to Russia but unfortunately her family, they were against it. I was gonna go with Alexandra to Russia and help her out and be with her. For a lady like Alexandra Goode, she loved traveling, she loved being free to explore, to meet different people, and I think in her last couple of years, her family made the decision to take away some of those freedoms. I do feel that she could have ended her life a lot better than the way it turned out. I'm here in the back property of where Alexandra retired here in Texarkana at the retirement community. This was one of her favorite places to go outdoors. She loved nature. Anytime I came over here, I took her on a wheelchair and we just strolled all the way down here, just talked, sometimes didn't say anything at all, just enjoyed the nature. And then there was also somebody that made a big impact in the last few months of her life. Her name is Kay. She was studying to be a nurse. She was a caregiver, and she did a really good job with Alexandra in her last days. Kay gave Alexandra a stuffed animal that Alexandra fell in love with, and she would hug it every night and she fell asleep with it. The one thing she was always loved is birds and nature. Behind me, right over there, she loved geese. She was always marveled by how majestic those kind of creatures are. There was times where her and I would be driving on this road or just walking on this road, and we would always laugh at just how, I don't know if it's stubborn is the right word for it, but just how the geese had a mind of their own. We'd be driving in the car on this road, and they would see us, and it seemed like always on purpose. They would start crossing the street when we were trying to pass by, but they would just stop, look around, maybe pluck their feathers or clean their feathers or whatever they were going to do, and go about their way. But they always seemed to do it when there's cars around. They would always try to cross the road. So Alexandra and I, this is one thing that we always enjoyed and we could bond over, is the amazement of those kind of creatures as the geese, that they just really are magnificent, and they really have a mind of their own. March 2024 marks exactly a year since Alexandra passed away, and as I'm looking at the geese behind me, it just reminds me of Alexandra and just how sweet she was and just how much she loved people and nature. Guys, I'm here at Naaman's Barbecue here in Texarkana. This was one of the favorites of Alexandra. Here she usually used to get adult mac and cheese, which is really, really good. So that's what I just ordered. I'm gonna eat here. I got cheesy corn, and then the other thing she likes is, or used to like, is ribs, so I got that as well. Forever grateful to Alexandra that I was able to take one last trip with her to New York. And for somebody that's 89 years old, I still believe till this day that she could have gone to Russia, and maybe she might have needed extra help to do things, but I do believe strongly that she would have been able to go to Russia and fulfill her last wish.